My best friend passed away in a traffic accident. When I was about to go to the funeral, a friend told me in a stern voice, "You absolutely must not come." I didn't understand why I couldn't go to say my last goodbye to my best friend, so I went to the funeral anyway. There, I was met with an incomprehensible sight. My own husband was sitting in the chief mourner's seat, and he had a boy of about 2 years old with him. What's going on? In a state of panic, I instantly understood the situation. I silently finished offering flowers and glared at my husband, the chief mourner. He had turned pale. "I am Abby. I'm 38 years old, living with my husband Jim, who is the same age as me, and our daughters, aged 13 and 10. Our family relationship is very good. We've lived freely without any major arguments. My husband has been on a work assignment alone for the past 3 years. He adores our 2 daughters, always wanting to talk to them when he calls. However, our eldest daughter is in her rebellious phase and doesn't want to talk to him, which he finds lonely. Our younger daughter is fond of him, which seems to be a relief. One day, I got a call from a friend. What? Mia passed away? Are you kidding? She died instantly in a traffic accident. I can't believe it either. Mia has been my best friend since high school. She was very popular with the opposite gender, thanks to her charming appearance. She was aware of her appeal and jiggled several men. Her only flaw was her careless relationships with men, but that was only until she was single. Now, she's a mother, doing a great job. I couldn't accept the situation. After all, I had just spoken to her last week. She told me her son turned 2. He started running. She sounded so happy. "Abby, are you okay?" Sorry. So, where is the funeral? It turned out to be in the same state and city as where my husband is currently posted. Perfect. I decided to stay at my husband's apartment for a while and see how things are. After ending the call with my friend, I called my husband. "Hello, what's up?" He sounded lethargic, or was it just me? "Your voice sounds lifeless. Are you okay? Feeling sick?" "No, just tired from work." "But why did you call?" "Remember Mia, my best friend? The one I introduced to you at our wedding." "Oh, I remember her." I had deliberately kept my husband and Mia from meeting until the last moment. I knew all too well how popular Mia was with men from our long friendship. Even if Mia wasn't interested, men would fall for her. She was that captivating. Mia died in a traffic accident. Her funeral is near where you're living now, so I'm thinking of coming over. "What? No, it's going to be hard, right? I'll attend the funeral. You don't need to come here. How will you manage the daughters? It's just for 2 to 3 days. I plan to ask my mother-in-law to take care of them." "Don't bother my mom with that. Anyway, I'll go to the funeral. Don't you dare come here, got it?" He ended the call abruptly. Something was off. His attitude was unnatural, and it was strange for him, who hardly knew Mia, to attend her funeral. Ignoring my husband's words, I decided to entrust my children to my mother-in-law and go to the funeral. Fortunately, I have a good relationship with my in-laws, so they readily agreed. During the trip, I received a call from a friend. She was the one who informed me about Mia's death. "Hello, hi Abby, are you by any chance going to Mia's funeral?" It sounded like my friend was crying over the phone. "Yay, my husband told me not to, but it's my last farewell. I really want to go." "You absolutely must not come. If you do, it'll be terrible. Go back right now." "What? What's going on all of a sudden? What do you mean by terrible?" "I don't know the details, but you just shouldn't come. It's better that way." After saying that, my friend hung up. What's with my husband and friend? Why can't I attend the funeral? But it's too late to turn back now. I'm already on the train. When I arrived at the funeral, I was shocked by the sight before me. My husband was there. "That's fine." He said he'd be at the funeral on the phone. He was in mourning clothes. And he was sitting in the chief mourner's seat with a boy about 2 years old, greeting the mourners. What does this mean? Did my husband know Mia, chief mourner? Does that mean my husband and Mia were family, siblings, or could it be husband and wife? As questions flooded my mind, I was on the verge of panic. "Abby, you came. I told you not to." What's happening here? I was confused too when I saw your husband as the chief mourner. So I pretended we'd never met and spoke to him. My friend had been at our wedding, but with so many people there, the chances of my husband remembering her face were slim. And as expected, he didn't remember me. He said, "Nice to meet you, I'm Mia's husband. Thank you for coming despite your busy schedule." Mia's husband. Jim is my husband and also Mia's. They've been married for 3 years. That boy over there is apparently the child of Jim and Mia. 3 years ago, that's when Jim started his solo assignment. Now I was beginning to piece things together. To state the facts, my husband had an affair at his work assignment and fathered a child. That's all there is to it. I told you not to come, but that was a strange thing to say. You have the right to know what's going on, Abby. Thanks for caring. I still don't understand everything, but at least it's better than being in the dark. I marched towards the casket and joined the line to offer flowers. My husband was thanking each person offering flowers, his head down. Up close, I could see his eyes were swollen, probably from crying so much. Then it was my turn. My husband thanked me too, and when he saw my face, he turned pale, as if he'd seen a ghost. What was he thinking right now? Was he angry that I came to the funeral despite his warnings, or was he panicking about how to explain the affair or something else? I offered flowers, turned on my heel without a word, and left. This was my declaration of war. A battle with my husband was about to begin. I'll make sure he regrets it. I'm more like a grim reaper than a ghost. That's fine, I'll drag Jim to hell. I got back on the train and rushed home. There were several missed calls on my phone, but I turned it off midway. First, I went to the city office to check my family register. My marriage was still ongoing. This made things even more confusing, but I reported the situation to my in-laws. I told them that when I went to my best friend's funeral, for some reason, my husband was the chief mourner and apparently had been married to her for the past 3 years. There was also a 2-year-old boy. Laying out the facts like this was incredibly impactful. At first, my in-laws were dumbfounded, thinking I was joking. However, because we've always had a good relationship, they believed me and were furious afterwards. They tried contacting Jim, but he wasn't reachable. If he really was the chief mourner, he would still be busy. Or perhaps, he's running away, not knowing what to do. As my next step, I decided to call Mia's parents. I had been friends with Mia since high school, so I knew her parents. I even learned how to bake cakes from Mia's mother. I didn't know how much Mia's parents were aware of, but it was a fact that they had just lost their dear daughter, so I felt sorry for involving them in this sadness. However, it was strange for me to be overly considerate. There was a possibility that her parents were also deceived. "Oh, Abby, long time no see. You came to Mia's funeral, didn't you? We were so panicked at that time, I couldn't even greet properly. Thank you for being there despite your busy schedule. Mia must be happy about it." It hurt to hear that, but after expressing my condolences, I quickly got to the main topic. Actually, I called today about Mia's husband, Jim. It's hard to say this, but Jim is also my husband. So, he was married to you originally, but you divorced, and then he married Mia. No, that's not it. He's currently my husband. According to the family register, we're still married. So I think Mia probably wasn't officially registered as his wife, right? Indeed, Jim was adamant about not registering the marriage, saying that a common law marriage was fine. We opposed it, but if it's what they decided. So that's why he was so insistent. He deceived Mia, and forgivable. Mia's mother firmly believed Mia had been deceived. However, I had my doubts. After all, I had been in contact with Mia until recently. I can't forgive being deceived myself. I've been trying to contact him, but he's unreachable. Leave it to me. Now that it's come to this, we'll take responsibility and bring Jim to a discussion. This way, I successfully rallied support, and the day of the discussion arrived. Present were me, Jim, both of our parents, 6 people in total. Though it may seem like I'm surrounded by enemies, in reality, they are all on my side. Except for Jim. Jim looked haggard. Worse than when I saw him at the funeral. Of course, at that time, he must have been sad as a husband who lost his beloved wife and received many kind words. The mourners would have sympathized with him for being young and unfortunate. But now, he's just a man caught in an affair. Everyone present was an enemy to him. Jim began to speak, looking as tense as a frog under a snake's gaze. Well, I met Mia at Abby's and my wedding. I fell for her at first sight because she was so cute. So, they met at the wedding. I had thought so since there was no other connection. But Mia really was a seductress to make a man fall for her in just one meeting. After marrying, we frequently had relations, but it was like a casual fling, nothing serious. A fling with your wife's best friend. Didn't he foresee the fire turning into a blaze? 3 years ago, when I got transferred alone, I told her it was over, but then Mia said she would follow me. I was surprised. Knowing Mia, she must have had other men. If she moved, it meant cutting ties with everyone except Jim. But as odd as it is for me to say, Jim was a good catch, working for a major company. I can understand why Mia wouldn't want to let go of Jim. And given Mia's personality, she could easily find another man in a new place. So when I went on my solo assignment, Abby wasn't around, and Mia and I ended up living together. Then, we had a child. It was troublesome, but I was happy because it was a boy. Heh. We have 2 daughters between me and Jim, and he always wanted a boy. I remember that well. Jim, he was talking excitedly, felt awkward under our cold stares. Mia said that if she had a boy, Jim would marry her. I didn't know Jim was already married, but did you really tell her that? Well, I did say something like if it's a boy, I'll properly divorce Abby and marry Mia, but I never thought it would actually happen. It seems Jim thought his relationship with Mia was just a fling. If they didn't intend to have a child, they should have been more careful. Well, I also thought it wasn't good to drag on this relationship, but it was hard to choose between them. And while I was struggling with that, Mia died in a traffic accident. Jim finished his story. I knew it all along, but I had been betrayed by my husband and best friend ever since we were married. Hearing it spoken again from Jim's own mouth was a huge shock. Then Jim's father stood up, slapped him, and said, "You fool." Jim's mother was crying the whole time. Everyone, I'm truly sorry for my foolish sin's actions. I don't know how to apologize enough. Jim's father apologized deeply. Now that it's come to this, I'll make amends for the rest of my life. So Abby, I want you to adopt the boy and raise him with me. Mia would want that from heaven. No, that's impossible. I flatly refused Jim's request. Adopt the child of his affair partner just because she died. It's unthinkable. Hearing this, Jim's father hit him again, and Jim's mother burst into tears. I'm the one who wants to cry. I have only 2 requests for Jim. Divorce and pay the property division. That's all. There's something else I've been wondering about. Is this 2-year-old boy really Jim's child? The boy doesn't resemble Jim at all. It's plausible, given Mia's history. Yes, I've thought the same thing. It's embarrassing to say, but Mia was careless with men, so it's a valid question. Jim was speechless. He probably imagined a happy ending where I agreed to adopt the boy and we all lived together despite everything. The reality is divorce, the property division, and the possibility that the boy isn't his child. No wonder he wants to escape reality. Anyway, sign the divorce papers and leave the house as soon as possible. I'll consult the lawyer about the property division and contact you later. Wait, there must be a way to work this out. Let's think about it together. The girls will miss me if I suddenly disappear. Jim's father hit him again. The 3rd time. I thought you would say that, so I've already talked to the girls. They have messages for you. First, the eldest, cheating is the worst, you animal. I never want to see your face again. And the youngest, Dad, that's called 2-timing and it's something you shouldn't do. I hate a dad who does that, that's all. Jim was dismayed, probably shocked by his daughter's words. You brought this on yourself. You should have seen this coming. Abby, we will make sure he pays the property division. It's the least I can do. A few days later, Jim and I got divorced. DNA testing was done on the boy, and it turned out Jim wasn't the father. Now, it's unclear who the father is. The father is probably one of the many men in Mia's adult relationships. The boy will be raised by Mia's parents. As Jim has acknowledged paternity, he will be responsible for child support. He is now paying child support for all 3 children, my 2 daughters and the boy, as well as a lump sum of the property division, which has led him into debt. Jim has been disowned by his parents and told never to cross their threshold again. He was on a path to promotion, but this scandal became known at his company. and now his career advancement is no longer possible. He is shunned by those around him and cannot quit his job due to the need to repay his debts, finding himself without a place in the company. Mia's parents offered to pay me compensation. I initially refused, saying that I had no relation to them now that Mia was gone, but they insisted it was a matter of principle, so I accepted. If I hadn't attended the funeral, I might have continued living in ignorance. Indeed, as my friend said, there might be such a thing as blissful ignorance. However, I'm glad I know the truth. I've resolved to support my daughters more than ever. Incidentally, the messages I said I had from my daughters for Jim were made up by me. The truth about Jim's actions would be too shocking for daughters their age. I plan to tell them when they are older and the time is right.